A standard aptitude test is given to several randomly selected programmers, and the scores are given below for the mathematics and verbal portions of the test. And here you can see where the scores are given. Okay, this question says, suppose you were to use the sign test to test the claim that programmers do better on mathematics portion of the test. Select the appropriate null and alternative hypothesis. Remember, null is h of 0, alternative is your h1. So is your answer going to be A, the math scores are equal to the verbal scores, or the alternative of the math scores are greater than the verbal scores? Choice B, the null being the math scores are not equal to the verbal scores, the alternative being the math scores are equal to the verbal scores. Choice C, null, math scores are equal to verbal scores, alternative, math scores are less than the verbal scores. Or choice D, the null, the math scores are equal to the verbal scores, alternative, the math scores are not equal to the verbal scores. Before we begin to decide which answer has the correct, appropriate, null, and alternative hypothesis, we must remember that the claim must be the alternative hypothesis unless the claim is stating equal. If it states equal, then it would be your null. So, what is our claim? Let's highlight our claim. They are claiming programmers do better on the mathematics portion of the test. So because that claim does not state equal, we want our claim to be the alternative. So let's look at choice A. Choice A says math scores are greater than the verbal scores. Well, that alternative hypothesis goes along with what we are claiming. So it could be choice A. Let's look at our other choices. Choice B, the alternative states the math scores are equal to the verbal scores. Our claim is not stating that, so it cannot be choice B. Choice C, the alternative is stating the math scores are less than the verbal scores. Our claim is stating that they do better, so it cannot be choice C. Choice D, the math scores are not equal to the verbal scores. Again, we are saying, you're right, they are not equal to, but we are saying that they do better. So, in this case, the correct answer would be A, with the null being the math scores are equal to the verbal scores, and the alternative being the math scores are greater than the verbal scores. So your correct answer here is A, with the null being the math scores are equal to the verbal scores, and the alternative being the math scores are greater than the verbal scores. Choice A.